Hey, what's up everyone, Triff here for another video. In this one we will take a closer look at my low budget Forbidden Rite gear and I will show you how I crafted it or how much I paid for each piece of this budget version. I will link in the description all of the live searches presented in this video. So let's begin with the weapons. We are using two Void Battery ones which are very cheap right now. As you can see, you can find some decently rolled one for only 15 to 20 chaos, with 17% or above cast speed. For the amulet, we are using a badge of the Brotherhood, which is about 80 chaos for now, and add to that the 2 silver oils needed for the infused anointment, which are like 18 chaos each, and we get to a total of 116 chaos. For the body armor, I invite you to check my full video on how to craft it. A link to this video will appear now on your screen. And for your information, it cost me about 4.5 Exalted orbs to craft it. For the rings, it is some simple vermilion rings with no influence, and I crafted them with single socket resonators and pristine fossils. Just look for high life and good life recoup, and then whatever else you can get. But be sure to have an open prefix to craft -8 to total mana cost of skills. You can eventually find some pretty good deals on PoE trade as shown in this live search. So we are looking for life and life recoup with an open prefix. So for example, this one could be nice. It has an open prefix to craft -8 and it's only 25 chaos. But most of the time it will end up being more costly than just crafting it yourself. If you decide to craft them yourself, then it should cost anywhere between 50 chaos to 100 chaos per ring to have decent results like my rings. For the helmet, I just bought a cheap armor base with the good Forbidden Rite enchantment, which is Forbidden Rite fires an additional projectiles. As you can see, you can find some for only a few chaos on PoE trade. Then the first thing you can try to do is to use a few essences of greed until you get 3 suffixes and an open prefix. Then use a Warlord's Exalted Orb for a small chance of getting +1 to maximum power charges. If you don't get it, then you will just do the alteration spam method until you hit +1 to maximum power charges, and then you can use the harvest craft like upgrade a magic item to a rare item, adding 2, 3 or 4 high tier modifiers, and deal with whatever you get. You can also use some Bestiary Slam or Leo Slams to add some modifiers to your helmet. And if there is an open prefix, you can craft +70 to maximum life with the bench. This helmet I have cost me about 1.5 Exalted to craft. For the gloves, I just looked on PoE trade for any armor or hybrid base with Chaos Leech implicit. But as you can see, there are not many for sale right now because people just don't bother picking them on the ground. So let's see how you can craft them yourself. So if you cannot find one and want to craft it yourself, then you will just need to use some lesser Eldritch Ichor to get the % of chaos damage leech as life. And then, as you will most likely need dexterity somewhere on your gear, the gloves were for me a good place to get it. So an easy way to do this is to just use some Deafening Essence of Sorrow, which gives dexterity, until you hit some decent suffixes or decent life. And to finish, I used some lesser Eldritch Ember to get the mod chance to unnerve enemies for 4 seconds on hit. Those gloves cost me about 100 chaos to craft. For the boots, it is probably just cheaper to buy a base on PoE trade, as it can be very annoying to get elusive with some movement speed and life on top of it. So you should look for a pair that has elusive, and then the best case scenario is to find a pair with some life on it, and an open prefix to craft movement speed and onslaught on kill. If you feel like investing a bit more on boots, then you can look for a pair that also has the Tailwind mod, but the price is not the same at all. This is a good example of a pair of boots you could like. It has chance to gain elusive on crit, it has some good life, and an open prefix to craft movement speed and onslaught. And don't forget to get the Labyrinth enchantment, 18% reduced mana cost of skills if you have been hit recently. This is very important if you don't want to have mana issues. So I bought this pair of boots for 80 chaos and I paid 50 chaos for the enchantment, so a total of 130 chaos. And the final piece of gear is the belt, and I advise you to get it as your last item as it doesn't have any required stats, so use it to fill up your resistances or attributes needs. This belt I have cost me about 50 chaos. Let's now move on to the jewels that you will need. Firstly, the Watcher's Eye. It is a very important part of our life sustain, and you mainly want the mod life gain for each enemy hit while affected by vitality. I bought mine for 2.5 Exalted orbs, but as you can see right now it is a bit cheaper. Then you will need 2 8 passive Chaos Large Cluster Jewels with those 3 mods: Touch of Cruelty, Unholy Grace, and Unwaveringly Evil. Those jewels are the best for the low budget option as they are only 40 chaos each. For the medium cluster jewels we will use a 4 or 5 passive area damage jewel with Towering Threat and Magnifier. This is again for the low budget version the best that you can find as it is only 40 chaos. For the small cluster jewels we will need 4 of them. 2 of them are 2 passive skill chaos resistance with the Born of Chaos notable. They cost about 40 to 50 chaos each, and they are also a good place to fill up your resistances or attributes needs. Then one of them should be a 2 passive skill increased armor with the Enduring Composure notable to generate endurance charges. It costs about 40 chaos for a jewel. And the last small cluster jewel that you need is a 2 passive skill mana reservation efficiency with the Right House Path notable. This one you can find for 15 to 20 chaos. Then you should be left with 3 jewel slots. 2 of them are going to be rare jewels, so either basic jewels with increased maximum life, reduced mana cost of skills, and whatever damage mod you can find, or an abyssal jewel with some damage taken recouped as mana. You can also eventually use a Replica Conqueror's Efficiency unique jewel if you really have big mana issues. Rare jewels can be found for just a few chaos or more depending on how good you want them to be. The best damage mods are any critical strike multiplier ones. As you can see in this live search that I have, I am looking mainly for increased maximum life with reduced mana cost of skills, and then one of those damage mod. So you can see that there are some very cheap ones if you look for only increased maximum life, reduced mana cost, and then increased damage like increased damage or projectile damage or area damage. But then if you are looking for critical strike multiplier, that will be a bit more expensive but still very affordable. And the last and most important one is the Timeless Jewel. So you want to have a glorious vanity in the name of Zibaqua. And on this jewel you absolutely want to have somewhere a Ritual of Shadow notable, as Wither is like half of the DPS of our build. Finding such a jewel is pretty annoying, but a good solution to that is the TFT Discord. There you can find a dedicated channel for timeless jewel trading. Other than that, if you want to make it yourself, then your best option is probably to just divine it. Divines are pretty cheap this league, so it makes it a little bit less expensive, and always make sure that you have the jewel in the name of Zibaqua. And then you can check all of the interesting spots to find Ritual of Shadow notables. So those are the interesting spots. The 2 1 points attributes one, then you have this one for 2 points, and other than that you can find it sometimes on Sancticity. This is not too bad because you can grab on top of it the 2 life notables. So this one I divined it myself, and I found Cult of Chaos for 1 point and Ritual of Shadow for 2 points, and I have spent about 40 to 50 divines, so a little bit less than 3 Exalted orbs. And finally, before we do a summary of what I paid for everything, there are a few specific gems that you will need, like Anomalous Greater Multiple Projectiles, which is about 2 Exalted orbs right now. Then you have a level 2 or level 3 Enlightened support, which is 1.5 to 2 Exalted orbs, and then a few other alternate quality gems like Divergent Purifying Flame, Anomalous Onslaught, and Anomalous Molten Shell, but those are very cheap right now, like just a few chaos. And all of my other gems are basically free because I leveled them myself, and none of them are above level 20. So if we do a recap of everything I paid for this budget version, which would be at something like 9 to 9.5 Exalted orbs for all of the gears, then 6 to 6.5 Exalted orbs for the jewels, and 4 Exalted orbs for the gems. The total should be most likely between 18 to 20 Exalted orbs to recreate this character. So with everything I have shown you in this video, you should be able to have a character like the one shown on my budget showcase video for less than 20 Exalted orbs. This character can run pretty much all of the content in the game, and every bosses excepted maybe the very last waves of Simulacrum, which would need a little bit more investment. I hope that this video gave you more information on how to acquire the gear for this budget version of my build, and if it helped you or if you want to see more of my content, please subscribe to my channel. I wish you guys the best of luck if you decide to try my build, and I see you soon in a new video.